Do you love fruit leather but don't enjoy the idea of trying to come up with fresh fruits that you can blend and try to figure out what to do? Would you like something that's a lot easier to make for you and your kids for lunches or just to have as a snack and then learn how to make it applesauce again? Hi, I'm Darcy from the Purposeful Pantry, where we talk about dehydrating all the time. Today we're doing some fruit leather that came from the pantry, so you don't have to use fresh fruit or the stovetop at all to make fruit leather that you're gonna love. Let's get started.
So I know we have some fruit cocktails sitting in the back of our pantry that we are not going to eat because none of us like it. So let's do something with it.
Fruit cocktail applesauce.
Okay, for our next, we're going to take some more applesauce and just pour it onto our trays. Now this applesauce can sometimes, this particular brand can sometimes be a little thin, so I don't necessarily want to spread it out super far onto the edges. We want it a little thicker on the edge than we want it in the middle. Now if you're worried about your applesauce spreading too much and that it's going to make a mess, you can always cook down runny applesauce a little bit on the stovetop. But what we're trying to do is create one that doesn't require cooking, that doesn't require like doing any kind of special things with fresh fruit. You can just move this stuff up a little bit, just like this, spread out. What I tend to do is just tap my tray and it helps even it out, and then I can just push back if it's getting a little too close. But you can also use a lip tray if you have those. My fruit leather won't necessarily always come out perfect, and I'm cool with that. There we go. All right, now here's our first trick. I keep peanut butter powder in our pantry all the time, and we use it for lots of things, but here's where it's gonna just shine for me. We're gonna take peanut butter powder and sprinkle it all over our applesauce. Now I don't know if you're like me. When I was growing up, apples dipped in peanut butter was an after-school treat all the time that I grew to love. So we're just going to be very liberal with sprinkling on this peanut butter powder. I'm using a T-ball to do this. You can probably use anything else you want. You just sprinkle and it goes right on. And you can see that as it lands, it's just soaking right into the applesauce because the applesauce is wet. So we don't have to worry about trying to mix it up. Use as much as you want. Fruit leather. Okay, so I poured some and then realized I didn't show you my trick. So if you just have straight parchment paper or fruit leather sheets that don't have the lip, take your parchment paper just like this, create a corner. See how I'm doing? Just pinching that corner up, and then I'm going to fold it onto itself and use a paper clip to create a lip. Do it to all four corners, just like this. Ideally, it's better to do this before you put the fruit leather on it. I mean, before you put your applesauce on it, but I was in a hurry and not tracking. So then here we do the next one. And there we go. We have a lipped tray that then you can thicker on the edges, just like before. Okay, so here's the next thing I can do. This is raspberry powder. This happens to be freeze-dried raspberries that have been powdered. You can do this with freeze-dried raspberries if you purchase them from a commercial venue like August and Farms or Thrive Life, or from the grocery store, or you can make your own if you happen to have a freeze dryer. But you can do this with dehydrated raspberries as well. Just powder them up and then you have this powder. Then you shake it on just like this. And so now what you've got is raspberry, apple, fruit leather. This is probably a good heaping tablespoon worth. So if you want, you can go through there and just, mix it up. But I don't feel the need to, because as it settles, it will start rehydrating in the sauce. And you can just have an interesting, pretty sauce when you're done. So here we go. Apple, raspberry, fruit leather. My dad likes to make peanut butter and jelly sandwiches for a treat. So we took the last of what was coming out of this jar, put it into our applesauce on a tray, swirled it around, because usually I can do that if the applesauce has been sitting out. I mean, if the jam has been sitting out and kind of gotten to room temperature, but I was taking it right out of the refrigerator, so it needs a little help. What I'm also going to do is add just a little bit more because it didn't have enough from the new jar that we just opened. So we're going to put a little jam into our applesauce. And we're going to make some strawberry preserve fruit leather. Putting it into the blender because it's cold will help blend it up better. See, it's right here. Pop a clean sheet on. It's stained. It is clean. It's stained because we use them a lot. We preserve a lot of food. And stained sheets mean a happy, well-stocked pantry. We're going to pour it out. And blending up like this tends to make the applesauce a little thinner, so I won't put it all on there. We will just do the same thing where we're going to swirl it around. There we go. Strawberry preserve fruit leather. And for our last one, we're going to do a traditional apple cinnamon fruit leather. This is probably the easiest one that you can do with your family. You can have your kids do it. They will love making their own. This is what makes this really easy, is that you don't even have to use something that's in season or to get fresh fruit or do anything like that. Use the stuff that you have sitting in your pantry to make these. But all we're going to do is just take some simple cinnamon, shake it across all of your applesauce. Now, if you like it really cinnamony, cover it just like that. All right, let's get these started. So here we go. Remember, we have fruit cocktail fruit leather, apple peanut butter, raspberry, strawberry preserves actually, and then we have just the traditional apple cinnamon. So we're going to start our machine. I'm going to keep the temperature down a little lower. It's going to take a little longer for it to do, but I want to make sure that we don't overdo these. And then we're going to set the time. I'm just going to set it out because I don't care about time. I check when they're done. This may take you anywhere from 6 to 8 hours. Generally, but don't count on it. Go by when it's done. So this is not quite ready yet. It's been in for a while, but it's still a little bit tacky right in the middle, okay? But what I want to do is pull it up so I can flip it over and give the bottom some chance to dry as well. So when you're doing your fruit leather, when you pull it right out of the machine, it's going to be warm and very pliable and may tend to break. And if it breaks a lot, then you don't want to pull it and do anything with it because it needs to dry more. But if you let it sit out for a little while, you might find, oh, it's actually coming up. But then you have a problem with it sticking. So here's a tip. And don't try to pull your fruit leather off of your tray, putting the pressure on the fruit leather. Instead, take your tray and pull it off of your fruit leather. There is some physics involved in where the pressure is happening, and when it's coming off from here, instead of trying to pull this and tear it, it actually will flip a little easier. So you can see right here where it's still wet right in the middle, but dry on the outside. So let's get it going a little bit longer. All right, before we get to actually rolling these up, I'm going to do that with the peanut butter applesauce one, but we've got the raspberry applesauce, which is coming off just like that. I've already pulled them off when I was checking them in the machine. So here we go. That's what it looks like, and it just rolls and crumbles up so easily and then just bounces right back. Then we have the applesauce with strawberry preserves. This is the only one that I will probably put back in for a little while longer. When I originally pulled this up the first time to check these, to flip them over because I like to dry it on the bottom side for a little while, it did pull apart just a little bit. And while this is dry, I'm not sure this is fully dry. So I want to make sure that it gets a little bit more time, but right now it's great. You could eat it just like it is. Serve it up. It's fine. You just wouldn't want to store it in the pantry until you knew for sure it was really dry, but this could go in the refrigerator and you would be fine. Then this is the apple, cinnamon apple fruit leather. I did get one little spot over here that was a little thin, but this is what it looks like. Applesauce goodness, just like that. And then this last one is the applesauce and fruit cocktail mixed up together. It looks a little different than all the rest of them. I think a little bit of that is because with this and the strawberry preserves, that whipping it up in the blender aerated it a lot, and so it gives a little different texture and look to the apple, the fruit leather. So there you go. Let me show you how you can store these. All right, so what we have here is our peanut butter apple fruit leather. It's ready to go. It was the first one to dry fully. I don't need to do much more to it, but if I'm going to peel it off, then I just have this. Okay, so we have a glossy side, that's what was sitting on the fruit leather sheet, and then we have just our side that's not. Now, this is good and pliable and perfect for rolling because it's still quite soft. Now, if you over dry your fruit leather, it's okay. That means you have fruit leather chips, not fruit leather, and go with it. Our family actually prefers it a little chippy like that. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a piece of parchment paper and I'm going to cut it down to about the right size. And then I'm going to flip my leather onto my parchment paper, because a lot of people would prefer to roll their fruit leather and to protect it instead of just leaving it in rolls on its own. But you can do whatever you'd like. So I'm just going to take this and I can cut. I don't try to be very pretty. In fact, I'm going to show you what I do in a second about trying to tie these off. What I do is I take the end, because it's a little longer, and I go right over the edge of the fruit leather here. Right here, because I want to make sure that even on that first roll it doesn't stick to itself, and then I just roll it just like this. I don't try to make these pretty, okay? If I was giving these as gifts, I certainly would. You could roll it and then find out you have too much paper, and you can chop it down like that, and then you've got your rolled piece just like this. So what I use at home, we have extras of all of these little what do we call these? The word for this just escaped me. I'm sure all of you are saying, duh, Darcy, that's what it is. We have extras of something that we got, some kind of cellophane bags that we never use it, but that's what I save this for. Then I just do this and twist. That's as easy as it has to be, okay? And that will keep this one together. Of course, you can pack a jar full of these like this and they won't really come apart, or you can just tape it. You don't have to be fancy with rolling these up at all. And like I said, a lot of people don't even use parchment paper. They just roll these as they go. Now, do you want to see how to rehydrate to make more applesauce? All right, what I've done is added hot boiling water to my fruit leather sheets. And as it rehydrates and breaks down, you get applesauce, just like that. I'm gonna add just a little bit more water. You just need to get it to the consistency that you like, but I see there are still some little chunks, so I'm gonna keep going. That's seriously all there is to it. We have applesauce.
So if you want to see another easy way to dehydrate from your pantry or freezer without all the prep work, you can watch this video right here. And until I see you again next time, happy dehydrating, keep preserving, and have fun.